after riding from our house to the Mackinac Bridge 3 times and getting kind of bored with it, my son decided maybe it was time to go out of state and see if we could find something a little more interesting. And he was really excited about the idea of doing some mountains. So we went on bikepacker.com and we found some trips that looked pretty interesting. Looked like they had a lot to offer as far as what to see. And we would be doing some mountains and some gravel riding and going through the woods, and it looked like it was going to be a great idea. So I started taking some of these routes and making kind of a mix match of all 3 of them so that we could do a loop and come back to where we started and see some really cool things. So I found a car rental agency that would let us leave our car at their location, as long as I just kind of kept it out of their way, so to speak. Made arrangements to do that, and we started planning a route. And so for the first night, we were going to stay in Damascus at a small little RV park via the Creeper Trail. Then the next day, we were going to get up and ride the Virginia Creeper Trail. You'll see some of that in the video here. And you can see me creating this route. Once you get to the end, you start riding on some back roads out in the country. Some of it's gravel, some of it's paved, and it looked all pretty interesting. The second night, we were supposed to stay at Blue Bear Mountain, which is a campground, and then we were going to head on. We got into a few small towns that had some trails to ride on, and these looked like they were cycling trails. And then we were going to stay at Mortimer Campground, which is in the Pisgah National Forest, and do some single track riding. And the fun part about this was when I went to go create the map, it wouldn't snap to all the roads. I kind of had to do a pretty painstaking creation of this route. From there, we were going to head further south and start seeing some of the Linville Gorge. There's going to be some scenic overviews along the way, and then we are going to end up at Linville Falls RV Park. And again, we had called a lot of these places to make sure that they weren't going to be busy around this time of year. So the next day, we were planning on going and riding something I've always wanted to do, which is the Blue Ridge Parkway. And we were going to take that all the way back to Blue Bear Mountain, where we were planning on staying on the second night. And then we were going to get up the next day and ride back to where we started. Or at least that was the plan. All right, I think we're loaded up. We're using a shipping blanket as a poor man's bike rack. There's Kyle. He's really super excited. Kyle's the most excellent morning person. We got to stop at a bike shop on the way and replace my bearing and my bottom bracket. We figured out that my bottom bracket bearings were shot last night. That was a wonderful thing. We got all our equipment here in the back. We got my crank and tools and stuff to put the bottom bracket back together once we get down there. But I think we're ready to go. It's going to be an interesting adventure. I hope it's going to be fun. So after making a stop in Ann Arbor and taking care of my bottom bracket, we made our way to Abingdon, Virginia, where we left the rental truck at a Enterprise rent-a-car there. And after getting lost a few times, we finally made it onto the trailhead, but by then it was dark. We used our headlights. It was a good ride. There's a lot of bridges to drive over. It's mostly downhill down to Damascus. We got there probably 11:30 midnight. Wow, this is where we stayed last night. Not entirely bad. Kyle's still drying his stuff out here. We had a little dew this morning. Didn't have any rain. We finally climbed into the tent sometime around midnight. We still have some packing up to do, but other than that, we're doing okay. So some locals told us that there was a diner in town, and we decided, why not? Let's go get some breakfast. So we stopped in there and hung out for a little bit and talked to some of the locals, and we're told that we were crazy for deciding to go the wrong way up the Creeper Trail. So Damascus is full of bike shops where you can rent bikes, and they bring you up to a little town called White Top, and you can get on your bikes and then ride all the way back to Damascus, and it's all downhill from there. It's a pretty nice ride if you're on that big cruiser bike, but we were going the wrong way. So this is pretty much what the trail looks like. It's just a hard-packed gravel. So along the trail here, there's a bunch of these gates. We're trying to figure out some of these. What are you trying to stop here? Yeah, I've seen cow gates, but well, there you go. We'll just run around it. It's about a 3% grade all the way up to White Top, and we didn't think it was going to be that hard, but it did take quite a toll out of us. We weren't going very fast. I think we were averaging maybe 6 miles an hour, and usually we average 12. I guess if you just do 3% grade for 2.5, 3 hours, it's going to wear you out. We ended up stopping for lunch somewhere along the way and just kind of sitting underneath the tree and enjoying the shade. There's lots of scenic places along the trail. And again, if you're going downhill, that looks like a lot of fun. So, Kyle and I figured out that, I'll see if I can do this with my fingers. Just a couple miles ago, there's a building right down in here somewhere that we were just at. It's right about here. Yeah. So that was 2 miles ago. So you can see how much climbing you're doing in 2 miles. The trail came this way and up here, and then there's this little trail that goes up to this little spot, this little overlook. So it's been about 100 feet of climbing per mile on average. Finally got to the top of the trail, and now we're going downhill. And it's single track, which is nice. And we seem to have gotten rid of all of the tourists. They have a shuttle service that brings everybody to the top, and it's crazy nuts to see all the people coming down on Saturday. Alright, so we're finally out the creeper, and we started hitting the open road, which is finally nice because feel like we're starting to make some progress. We're starting to get up into the hills. Things start to get a little tough, but we'll keep pushing. It's kind of nice to see the downhills once in a while. It's all gravel, and we finally get to the top of this big hill. Hills. Lots and lots of hills. At least it's shaded. I think this is it. Finally. Whew. What a view. Now we wait for Kyle. And lay it down. Let's see what becomes of this. What happened? Moments after we left this view, and we're feeling pretty good because this is a pretty nice little view. Kyle gets a flat. Well, no big deal. We can take care of this. We got 2 spare tubes between the two of us. We have tubeless tires. We got sealant in it. We should be just fine, right? Okay, tire repaired. Try it again. Oh. It's been a long day. tell me about how much you like your Specialized S-Work tires.
The fucking shit.
Oh, jeez. Well, I guess we have 2 tires to fix now.
Literally going down a gravel road will give you a flat on Specialized tires.
Okay, so now here's the situation. It's 3:15. Kyle's gotten his second flat. We're out of spare tubes. If you look at the map here, you'll notice there isn't a town anywhere close. We're halfway to the campground we need to get to, and we're halfway for the climbing. And we haven't had cell phone reception since about an hour outside of Abingdon, which was yesterday. So we decide, you know what, it's time to just call it quits. So now the plan is just go back to Damascus and see if we can get some tubes and some new tires, because Kyle apparently was not happy with these tires. Gee, I don't know why. Let's just head back to Damascus, and then we'll see if we can find a place to camp for the night. And then Sunday morning we'll get up and see if we can find a bike shop that's open, which we should be able to, because there are plenty of shuttle places. I'm sure we could get one of them to sell us a tube. So let's just go back to Damascus. Okay, so remember that video clip where everyone was coming down on a cruiser bike and they all had a big smile on their face? They were all doing like 10 miles an hour? When Kyle and I got on the downhill section, we're doing like 20. I'm thinking that the bike rental places are purposely deflating the tires to slow the bikes down, because we were moving. There was no need to pedal. It was just like this for like 20 minutes. What the hell? Unfortunately, by the time we got to this point, Kyle's butt had become so blistered he couldn't sit down anymore. And he had padded shorts. We always use chamois butter, so we don't know what the hell happened, but he couldn't sit down. So we decided, well, let's just go back to Abingdon. Let's get a hotel for the night, and we'll see how he feels in the morning. And maybe we'll just go to Pisgah Forest for the tomorrow, and we'll do some riding around, and then we'll just go home. But unfortunately, we got up the next morning, and he wasn't feeling any better, so we just went home. So sad story, but I guess you got to know your limits. And now we have tire plugs on our list of things to bring with us. And, well, maybe we just won't try the big mountains next time. We'll just do something a little flatter. I guess that's what you got to do.